Alright, so when it comes to Android smartphones, there are a lot of terrific choices on the market. But just recently, I was talking with someone and they were asking whether or not they should get a Google Pixel phone. So I just figured this video might be useful to some of you guys who are considering getting a Pixel smartphone. And yeah, let's get started. Now, whenever someone asks me about my Pixel phones, usually the first feature that I show to them is the camera performance. Now, are they the most versatile camera smartphones on the market? Definitely not. Other phones from manufacturers like Xiaomi and Oppo have shown that there's still a lot of things that you can do when it comes to high-end camera hardware on smartphones. In Google's case though, the hardware isn't that bad, but Google likes to rely on its software processing, which makes the phones ideal for point-and-shoot photography. I can take photos knowing that they'll look great, and while they are not perfect in terms of cameras, more often than not, they do manage to outshine the competition when it comes to elements like color saturation and contrast, especially with low-light photography. Google's camera software does manage to round out these elements nicely, as you can see in some of these photos that I'm showing right now. Another thing that the Pixel phones are known for is the overall clean software. So unlike phones from brands like Xiaomi and Samsung, for example, you're not going to get pre-installed apps on your Pixel phone. You're just going to get the basic Google apps like Gmail and Maps and stuff like that. So there's no social media apps on here. No pre-installed games. They also come with the benefit of having regular software updates, so each time that Google releases a new Android upgrade version, you're bound to get it first on your Pixel phone. You're gonna get monthly software updates with security patches as well as regular feature drops, so even older Pixel phones are gonna get some of the newer features on the more recent models. And starting with the Pixel 8 series, Google did say that it was gonna provide up to 7 years of software updates for the phones. So if you're the kind of user who likes to keep their phones for pretty long periods of time, then this is something to take into consideration. The Pixel software also comes with some useful quality of life features. So stuff like call screening and spam message filters do make my daily life a bit more manageable, as I don't really need to deal with spam calls and scam messages. So it's features like that which are really nice to have, especially on a modern smartphone. Another highlight of using a Pixel phone is the generally smooth performance for day-to-day tasks. So far, I've gotten seamless experiences with my different Pixel devices ever since I got the Pixel 3a back in 2020. And yeah, to put it simply, they are pretty fast smartphones. Speaking from experience, I didn't really have freezes and restarts with my Pixel phones. Although again, I am mostly a moderate user, so I'm not doing any crazy software modding with my devices. And yeah, if you're looking for a phone that's generally stable for everyday usage, then again, this is something to take into consideration. Alright, so having said all of that, the Pixel phones aren't perfect. As with any other smartphone, there are some downsides to using them. Now, one of the most common complaints that I've heard from other users, as well as myself actually, is the performance when it comes to resource-heavy apps. So if you're looking for a device that can run games at smooth frame rates without overheating, without slowing down significantly, then you're gonna want to get something else, preferably a smartphone with a Snapdragon chipset, or maybe one of the newer iPhones, since those do have generally good performance. I do play games on my phones every now and then, but they're not really designed for gaming. So yeah, for hardcore mobile gamers, you might want to look elsewhere. Another significant complaint I've heard about Pixel devices is the battery life. Now with Android 15, I have gotten significantly better battery on my devices. So this is something that I think has been at least addressed on newer models and newer software updates. But again, they're not the best at battery life. At most, I can get maybe up to 5 or up to 6 hours of screen on time on a single charge. And while they do last the entire day, you're gonna get more SOT on phones like the Galaxy S Ultra series. And the same can be said for charging speeds. Pixel phones don't come with 80 watt or 100 watt charging support. You're gonna want to set aside some time to let your phones charge. Another downside is that some Pixel phones do tend to have hardware issues. So for example, like the Pixel 7, some users reported that their camera lens glass was cracking. On the Pixel 8, some users were complaining that they were ending up with green lines on their display. Now, that's not to say that hardware issues are exclusive to Google smartphones, but considering the amount of complaints that we hear from time to time about Google Pixel phones, your experience may of course vary. So I haven't really experienced the cracking camera glass or the green line defects. thankfully. So again, it's another thing to keep in mind. Now perhaps one of the biggest reasons why you shouldn't get a Pixel phone is with regards to availability. So unless you live in a handful of officially supported countries where Google sells its phones, such as the US and Europe and the UK for example, you might have a hard time getting a Pixel phone. Now you can of course buy them from third-party retailers, but for some reason Google likes to lock out some software features in different countries. So for example, some users aren't getting 5G connectivity just because they live outside the supported countries. Some software features aren't available, and of course if something happens to your device, you're not going to be able to get official hardware support from Google, which again, as we've said before, is another consideration. So yeah, to sum up this video, the Pixel phones are terrific. I do think that they're great smartphones, especially with their camera and software, but of course the experience is not going to be the same for everyone. Hopefully this video gives you a bit of insight as to whether or not you should get a Pixel device for yourself. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.